Welcome to Living Well Naturally. I'm Dr. Saylor, holistic chiropractor and owner of the Every Family Chiropractic Center, located in Royal Oak, Michigan. My patients, from 3 hours old to 103 years young, all have one thing in common. They want to feel better. Together, we will share and explore a healthy lifestyle to help you be the best you possible. It is my goal to provide you with information, insight, and experience, and motivation that will allow you to feel better and put you on the path to living well naturally. Today, we're talking about healthy eating habits. What does this mean? It means we want you to think about what goes in your body and how it makes you feel. It might be your food choices that are giving you the constipation or heartburn or even a skin rash. Today's panel is here to help you by getting you started on your own food journey. Joining me are Rachel Murray and Renee I knew I was going to say it wrong. Remind me. Pocoy from R&R Fermenting. Welcome and thanks for coming.
Thank you for
having us.
Yes. So tell me a little bit. Give me a little background. Want to start?
Sure. Well, I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease, MS, when I was 20 years old, and after that I continued to be diagnosed with other ailments, and even though I was on conventional medicine, it wasn't getting any better. And then probably about 3.5 years ago, I saw a video by Dr. Terry Walls where she was conquering her MS with diet, and I thought, why don't I give it a try? And that's what I did. I used that as inspiration, and here I am 3.5 years later, and all of my symptoms are gone. I'm off of all of my medications, and I feel better than I felt since I was in high school.
Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
My food journey, I would say, started probably about 13 years ago when I started breaking out in a little rash, and it was one eyelid, then it was the other eyelid, continued down my face and neck till I was almost 80% of my body. And, changing, the doctor said, we'll try this and we'll try that, and steroid creams and the pills. And I'm like, what am I doing wrong? I was brought up, you have a hot vegetable, a cold vegetable, you're a little bit entree and then a little side. And I'm thinking, I'm doing that. So that was my wake-up call of, do I need to think outside of this? And then my youngest daughter, who's 12 years younger than my older one, started developing at a substantial rate, which wasn't normal. And I'm thinking something's going on. And then, it's hormones in the meat, and it's the chemicals. And then for rash testing, they said I had very high levels of pesticides and herbicides. And they're like, do you work in a nursery? And I'm like, no. So going into the organic food and, then met Rachel and changing the ferment and everything else, just even the disposition of the people in my household are better.
Okay.
Easygoing and just big difference.
So I know our audience is probably thinking, okay, what are you guys doing differently? Because we all know about eating healthy, and we think fruits and vegetables, or we think eating organic and looking at, not eating sugar or processed foods. What are you two doing differently?
Well, everything has changed. I mean, lifestyle changes too. You sleep more, and you just lower your stress level. There are lots of differences in that way. But the very first thing that I think everybody, no matter where they come from, who is on this journey, and no matter where they think they're going, the very first thing that everybody does is they take out those artificial or processed or unnatural ingredients that are so prevalent in our foods today. Those things are like poisons in our body. And once you take those things out, the more natural and whole real foods you can get, the better off you're going to be.
Okay. One of the things I say in my practice is your skin is a reflection of your gut. So obviously with you, that was a huge reflection of what was going on with your gut, right?
Yes, I think I'm thankful. Somebody might have something internal. I know when I have a flare-up, it usually starts on my face, and that's a wake-up call. Again, what am I not doing?
Okay.
The other thing that we do is we consume fermented foods and beverages. By doing that helps to digest your food. It helps you to have a healthy gut. It makes the nutrients more bioavailable. Just by consuming a little with each meal makes a huge difference, even in digestion, constipation. It's amazing by adding the fermented foods.
Okay, so like one of the things that I know is recommended a lot, and like I'm a chiropractor, probiotics. So how about a difference? What would be the difference between a fermented gut and probiotics? Is there a little difference there, or do you need them both?
Well, there's a really big benefit to fermenting your own food in your own home, because when you're doing that, you're using the bacteria that's already in your environment on your hands, on the vegetables that came out of the dirt in your garden or from a local farmer, on your cutting board. That positive bacteria that's in your environment is more immunosupportive to you. So all probiotics that you can purchase are probably good too, but this is going to be even more immunosupportive to you.
You know, there's a huge, right now, everybody's so clean and sterile, and all the antibacterial stuff that we're seeing. And I know it's awful, but a lot of people don't understand that, and that was a really good point what you just made. We need to have bacteria, right? Isn't that the whole
Yes,
point?
we have over 2 pounds of live microbes. The question is, are yours healthy or not healthy in your gut? And so by consuming the right ones, we're helping to build that up so that we can, if we are sick, we can heal, or make ourselves feel better. So it's an important piece to do that.
Research shows that bad bacteria grows faster and good bacteria is stronger. So this is why when people take antibiotics, you see that we get sick right after we're done with antibiotics, because we've wiped everything out. So the first thing to come back into your system is going to be that bad bacteria. But if you can, balance it out with the good bacteria, then it's going to be good.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So what we have is we're going to take a break and just watch a video.
We're 100% vegan and gluten-free. So vegan means there's no animal products in anything. No meat, no fish, no dairy. So when people first look at our menu, a lot of times we get, what's that? Do you make these from scratch? Are they frozen? All those kinds of questions. And so we have a classic burger, sort of our version of a McDonald's cheeseburger. The burger itself is made from lentils and onions, and then the Southwest burger is made from black beans and brown rice. The falafel pita, we make it from scratch from garbanzo beans, red onions, and parsley. And people often ask us, how do we make our shakes? We use almond milk on a regular basis, and then for the ice cream, it's vegan ice cream based with rice, and then we use frozen fruit and so forth. I've been vegan for 25 years, and I had cancer about 25 years ago, and I started doing some reading, and a book that changed my life was Fit for Life by Harvey and Marilyn Diamond. As soon as I read that, it just made total sense to me. I started changing my eating habits. I cut out immediately all meat and anything from a box or a can, and then after I started reading more and more about the subject, then I cut everything out, and I feel great. It's been 25 years, and I really feel fantastic. My weight's always been up and down, up and down, up and down, like a lot of women. And I find for me what works best is low carb. So I try not to eat a lot of bread. I did go on like an all protein diet one time. I think I was missing out a little bit on the sugars from the fruit. So I did go on an all fruit diet, but I think there are nutrients that you lose from the vegetables. So when people first come to Shimmy Shack, one of the first reactions we get is, vegan food? What's that gonna taste like? Once they try our food, they're like, wow, this is not at all what I thought vegan food tasted like. It's a miracle what you can do in the kitchen, really. If you really test yourself and challenge yourself and do the Iron Chef in the kitchen about vegan food and what you can come up with.
Okay, so thoughts. I know we talked a little bit about different options.
Right.
So
yeah, I think this is a great reminder that every body is different and that every individual has to really listen to what their body is telling them and how their body is reacting to their food. And that's what I did. I was led to where I met Renee. We were met because we got involved with the local chapter of the Weston A. Price Foundation. Okay. And so that was kind of our path, but you hear about people who get into juicing or whatever. Again, once you move those artificial things out of your diet, you're going to be able to hear what your body is telling you, and then you can find your path to health.
Nice. I always say your body speaks in whispers until it starts screaming at you.
Right.
So like you usually notice like when you don't eat something, my kids eat really healthy, my husband eats really healthy, and I eat healthy. And we notice if they don't eat healthy because their behavior changes or they might act a little differently. And so I know it's like you can kind of see what's going on, but I think if you are overly processed with like too many kids eat so much stuff and junk that they don't even know. They can't tell when they don't feel good. Right. So that.
Oh, absolutely. You know, it's inspiring for her in the video in terms of she has this issue, she has the problem, and medical practitioners play an important role in our life, but I think we also need to take control and listen and make the changes. And what are you willing to do? And are you willing to do the research and take that extra step, even if it might be a baby step? And you know, a little at a time, you do what you can do. Better to do that than to do nothing.
Right. Because eating healthy or eating differently is not easy, and I know that for a fact. My husband is a type 1 diabetic, and he's been diabetic since he's been 9. And he went carb-free over 5 years ago now. And it's not easy. I mean, and I'm saying, like, when I say carb-free, which is really hard for people to do.
Right.
But within, like, almost instantly, 2/3 of the insulin he was taking. And then he cut it again by 1/3 by exercising. Wow. So his numbers are amazing. But he also knows if he eats just a little bit, like one Thanksgiving, he was like, okay, I'll have a little stuffing and I'll have a bite of potato, and he paid for it the next day. He didn't feel good.
Yeah.
So, but it's what works for him. So, you know.
Right. Yeah.
So tell me a little bit, like I know it's probably not easy to eat the way we all want to eat. Because I know when I go to a restaurant with my husband, like he gets a hamburger and he takes the bun off, you know, or he just makes do. How about you? Like in a party situation, or what would you recommend?
You know, whatever works, whatever gets you through, because it is difficult. You know, for me, that transition was hard because I would go to family parties or go to events and I would feel left out, and I would feel hurt that people didn't think to prepare something for me, you know, knowing my special needs. And after a while I was like, you know what, that's not why I'm here. I'm here to be with my family. So I bring food with me if I can't eat the food that's there. And now my body is healed so much, I'm now starting to be able to bring that stuff back in. So there's a light at the end of the tunnel. If you just use that motivation, it's, you know, it wasn't worth it to me to cheat.
Well, and a lot of people think it's going to be so hard. I think that's like, you know, even to start or know where to begin. How about you? What did you find at the beginning?
Same thing, you know, I'm like, well, I'm doing grass-fed and I'm doing organic, but if I go to family functions and other functions, that isn't happening. So my family knows when Renee comes for the holidays, she's bringing kombucha, and I bring all kind of fermented foods, and they're like, what do you have new for us to taste? So I figure, okay, I'm doing that, but I'm also doing this, which is helping to detoxify anything that, you know, I wouldn't normally eat. And I don't want people to feel bad when I come over. It's like, no, I'm having what you're having. And again, my diet isn't as strict as what Rachel's has been, and now she's, you know, improving more. So yeah, you do what you can do.
What about like going out, like a night out? How would you handle that? Maybe.
There's a few restaurants that do organic, that do grass-fed, and they even have some fermented foods. There aren't very many of those, so usually I have to drive quite a ways to go to those, but sometimes it's just like, okay, let's just go, and then I'll eat or drink something when I come home.
Okay. I was wondering, I was curious how that would work.
Yeah, I tend to eat before I go places.
Okay.
You know, I have my big meal, and then I don't have to worry about quantity. I can just get a little salad or, you know, just a little something.
So let's talk a little bit about like things that you started. And I know we've been talking about fermenting, and tell me a little bit, like you said kombucha, like what is that? Like people hear the word and they're like, what is it?
Kombucha is a fermented beverage. And it helps, again, to digest your food. It has probiotics in it, and it gives you energy. It helps to detoxify you. It is actually sold in a lot of stores now. I think even Kroger sells kombucha. You just have to make sure that what you're buying isn't pasteurized. Otherwise, you've killed all of the good bacteria that you're looking to consume.
Okay.
So, and just by changing the flavor of the tea, you change the taste of the kombucha. First time I didn't know that. For 8 months, I made the same kombucha, and the family's like, really, Mom? It tastes the same every time. So, you know, again, the learning curve.
So it's a tea, like basically
It's a fermented tea.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. And what other kind of products? What other things do you make?
Sauerkraut, pickles. Renee makes an awesome fermented salsa. Anything there's beet kvass. The possibility, if it grows in the ground, you can ferment it. So chutneys and
make my own ketchup, mustard, salad dressings. So you can really get creative.
So that's interesting. So tell me like a normal meal, I guess, would be like, what would you eat at dinner time? I don't know.
Well, I think we eat what everybody else eats. It's a cleaned up version of it,
Okay.
So it's organic vegetables, and it's grass-fed meat, and it's a teaspoon of sauerkraut on the side, and a glass of kombucha. But so it's going to look very similar to what another plate looks like, but it just is cleaner.
Okay. And you say sauerkraut, okay, my husband's favorite meal is sauerkraut, but I know he's probably not eating the same kind of sauerkraut that you guys are making. So what would be the difference between a sauerkraut that's, I don't even know. I'm not a cook,
good question. No, that's a really good question because most sauerkraut in America has been pasteurized and processed and all sorts of stuff. So we're talking about fresh, fermented sauerkraut, the way our great-grandparents made it, or the way it was made since the Neolithic age. This was the form of preservation initially until we had refrigeration, and every family knew how to do this. It was every child's birthright to learn this process.
And we're going to make some on air, aren't we? Okay,
Yes, we
so
are.
we're going to be right back. We have to take a short message, and we're going to be right back.
Hey everybody! Heart disease affects 1 in every 3 women in America, but you can fight back. There's no time to lose. Mothers, sisters, daughters, families, and friends, it's time to shout louder, stand stronger, and demand change.
Let's go!
To the Batmobile. Dang it.
To the invisible jet!
Dang it.
Together, we can put an end to heart disease. It's time to go red for women.
I could use your help.
Learn more from the American Heart Association at www.goredforwomen.org.
Hart, what's going on?
I'm leaving.
Why? What did I do?
Not enough. The pressure's too much. I quit.
I get it. I can do better. Just please don't leave.
Don't let your heart quit on you. Get your uncontrolled high blood pressure to a healthy range before it's too late.
Hi, welcome back. We have Renee and Rachel from R&R Fermenting, and we're talking about different things that we can eat that are fermented, and it's about the healthy gut. So introduce some stuff that we have here.
We talked a little bit about kombucha, and here's some finished kombucha already. We have a jasmine, and then also a 3-tea with a little bit of hibiscus in here. And it's very easy to make kombucha. It's like brewing tea, so if you can make sweet tea, you can make kombucha. The special ingredient, if you want to call it that, is a
special.
SCOBY. It's very special. And SCOBY stands for Symbiotic Colony of Bacteria and Yeast.
Okay.
And that's what consumes it. And here are a couple of different SCOBYs. If you wanted to...
Can I touch it then?
Touch it,
Can I pick
sure.
it up? Because
Pick it
it
up.
looks so yummy. So I heard this is 2 different colonies, you said, right?
Well, it actually grows, and like the white on the top is actually the newest SCOBY, and it'll layer. So as you continue to brew, you can actually peel off layers. So if you wanted to have multiple jars going with different flavors and dates, you can do that.
Can you guys see this at home? Because this is not so pretty. What would I do? Do I put it back in here?
There you go.
Woo.
Dry
All
your
right.
hands off there. So that's our SCOBY.
And about how long does it take to brew or cook or?
It takes,
Grow.
well, you'll make a regular sweet tea like you normally would, and depending on your temperature in your home, in the summertime, around 7 days. In the wintertime, up to 2 weeks. So, because, the warmer it is, the quicker it's going to ferment. But what we do is start with a cup of organic evaporated cane sugar, and then 2 tablespoons of, again, an organic tea, because you don't want herbicides and all of that sprayed into there. And then you're going to brew like you normally would. I always just put it right in my jar, get my water about to boiling, pour it in, stir it, and then I'll just let this cool to room temperature, because I don't want to cook my SCOBY.
Okay.
And this is a jar, and whenever I pour off into the, flip jars, you'll always leave a little bit of liquid, and that's what we would call your starter. and then the SCOBY is in there. And I won't even wash this jar in between. So I'll pour off what I want into my bottles, and this is its own little ecosystem. So by me scrubbing it and sterilizing, it has to repopulate again, so I don't want to do that. So what we have here is just a strainer.
Okay. Oops. Good, strainer.
And I just want to point out that this is a glass jar. Everything we're using here is glass because these things are detoxifying. They pull toxins. And the same way they pull toxins from our bodies, they'll pull toxins from the vessels here. So if we were using plastic or something with lead in it, it would pull that out.
It's going to leach it right into your skin.
Right,
Yep.
right.
Okay. So we're pouring this in. Mm-hmm. Not getting the tea leaves in.
We try not to.
Okay. The whole thing?
Sure.
All right.
And then you use filter water or spring water.
And the reason that you want to try to use filtered or spring water and why you're using organic ingredients is because pesticides, herbicides, all those things
I'll refill you up.
Okay.
are meant to kill things. They're meant to kill things like the SCOBY. You know, they're so we want to give the SCOBY and the bacteria in there. And same thing with all the vegetables that we use.
Do it again.
We just want to give it a chance at life so that it can,
A chance at life.
so that
That's
it can
good.
have life in our body and help us. Because our body is an ecosystem too. It's like Renee said earlier with the 2 pounds of microbes in our gut. We're not, 99 or something like 90% of our body is not human. It's bacteria and yeast and all that other stuff. So you want to nurture that, and by constantly trying to disinfect, and you're killing yourself by doing those things.
So how much would you drink of this to start?
You'll want to start with a small quantity because you are detoxifying. So like 4 to 6 ounces, and it also gives you energy. So I would start with it in the morning time, and you're going to fill this up to about where it starts to curve in the jar.
Okay.
My first experience where I didn't have anybody to bounce anything off of, and so I had made water kefir, which is another beverage, and it was so yummy. I drank several big glasses, and then, my stomach was not feeling so good. So again, pooling. And so the more you do it, the more you have detoxified and you can consume more. So I can now drink several glasses. I can eat it with my meals. So it's a slow process again.
Okay. What's water kefir then? What is the difference?
Water kefir is a different culture. Rather than a big SCOBY like that, it almost looks like clear, like pebbles. So there's water kefir and milk kefir, and they're 2 different type of grains, just other, fermented beverages.
Okay.
After we've done that, you're simply going to do this. You need to get the oxygen in, but you also want to keep dust and fruit flies and anything else out.
Like cheesecloth or this
No,
kind of cloth?
cheesecloth is too thin. Yeah,
Okay.
if you want to do a butter muslin or regular fabric, and then you'll put that on your counter somewhere out of direct heat, because if you have it by a toaster oven or a light, it'll actually heat it and cook it and kill your SCOBY.
Okay. And you don't want to kill the SCOBY.
No.
It's really lovely though.
Would you like to taste some kombucha?
Of course, I would.
Oh, my cup disappeared.
Oops. Let me grab.
So this flavor, when do you add the flavoring into it?
That is the flavoring, because
This
there's
is
the tea. Now you can
tea,
do
okay.
an additional flavoring. Like when I brewed the tea, this one had some additional hibiscus put in. And so by doing that, it changes the flavor a little bit if you wanted to try that one. There's also called a second ferment, where after it's about where I want it to be, I would strain it off into another container, and then you could add fruit and other things.
Okay.
And then you can even flip top them and create carbon and replace it for like soda.
Because you were saying you would add strawberries and different things like that. Too.
Yes, that would be
Okay.
your second ferment.
It's actually a lot better than I thought it was going to be.
Good.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, we probably should have had you try that first. Did it on air.
Well, I'll put it right here. Okay, so what's next?
All right, we're going to show you how to make pickles, and you can use any vegetable for pickles. As I mentioned before, it's best to use vegetables that come from your own garden, or these came from a local farmer. I got them at the Royal Oak Farmers Market, Senzori Farms, which is organic. You can scrub them, but we don't tend to peel or scrub too much. We tend to just try to get the grit off.
Okay.
And the reason for that is that, again, we don't want to remove those microbes. We want to leave them on there. They're good for us. So what what you need is basically just a saltwater brine. So we're going to use about a heaping tablespoon of Celtic sea salt. This is what Celtic sea salt looks like. The reason we're using this is because it's mineral rich. If you buy the refined salts, a lot of times they have anti-caking agents. All the minerals have been taken out. That's where we have issues in our culture with everybody having sodium problems. And then salt.
Where do you buy this, something like this at?
You can get this at Whole Foods or local health food stores. Really, everybody should switch all of their salt to that. When we're talking about, using Whole Foods, that's the kind of salt you want to have.
Right?
Right. So we put a heaping tablespoon of that in there, and then we pour the water in. And so it's basically 1 to 2 tablespoons, depending on flavor, how you like it, of salt to 4 cups of filtered water. And if you want to stir it, that'd be great. Right. And the reason that you use salt in fermentation is that salt holds back bad bacteria while good bacteria has a chance to grow, because the good bacteria can grow in this.
Do you stir till dissolved or just till it's in?
Basically till it's dissolved, which doesn't usually take too long. While you're doing that, I'm going to go ahead. You'll notice that sorry, I'm just going to...
Sliced and cubed too.
Some of them are sliced and some are cubed, and I did that because these are great on a sandwich. And these are great like on a salad or as a side dish. So,
nice.
Get creative. Some people make matchsticks. Some people, if there's just anything. One thing to be mindful of is that you're gonna pay attention to the density of the vegetable. So softer vegetables like cucumbers are going to ferment faster, and the larger chunks like this will ferment longer.
Okay. This is a beet.
Oh, these are turnips. Yeah, I love those in there so that you can see. Aren't they beautiful?
They're beautiful. I had no clue what it was.
Yeah,
I don't
these
eat
beautiful
turnips very often, so.
I chose them because of that beautiful color, because these are going to turn a really pretty color pink because of the skins being on there.
Okay.
And I always think about that too. For presentation, people are more interested to try things that look interesting. So, so you just pack it in there tight. And then you pour the salt water over it, and that's it.
That is it?
Yep.
If you feel so inclined to get creative, by all means, you could add
top?
garlic, you could add different seasonings, and again, that'll change up the taste.
You want to cover it in right there. Perfect. So you basically want to leave about this much space. An inch at the top gives it enough room for the bubbles to come up because you're going to get a lot of carbonation, but you want to keep the vegetables covered with the brine because that's what keeps the bacteria away, so nothing's going to rot. And then once you seal it, this becomes an anaerobic environment. There's no oxygen that's getting in there, and you're going to set it on your counter a week, 2 weeks, and you're going to have a beautiful fermented vegetable.
So how do you know it's done?
Well, you're going to notice some changes taking place. There's going to be bubbles that raise up. The color's going to change. It might get a little bit cloudy. If I start, you can hear this popping right now. It'll fill with air and gases, and you won't be able to do that anymore. And you might just open it and then close it to release some of those gases. And then it's just a matter of learning what flavor you like. A shorter ferment, you go a couple days, it's not going to taste very strong. Some people like that. Some people like a very strong vinegary flavor, so you might go longer.
Very cool. Well, that was super easy.
Yeah, and I think it's important both with that and the kombucha, you would want the family to consume it. So if you make it so strong, they're like, I'm not eating this, that you're much better off doing it on the weaker side.
Like, I am pretty sure I can get my 4-year-old to eat this. My 8-year-old, no way. Like, she'd smell it and be like, nope. And she would, no.
Well, and that's why in my house, I have to bottle it for my husband, because he says, if you put it in these bottles, I'll drink it. He says, but can you have a longer cloth so I don't have to see the SCOBY? I'm like, that's what works.
Okay, so what are we making right here?
Well, now we're moving over to sauerkraut. And so you can see here, we started with this cabbage, and it's just shredded cabbage.
Okay.
And you throw in some salt. With sauerkraut, you can do it to taste. So you might sprinkle some in, mix it up, taste it, whatever you like. You can add, you could do this with purple cabbage, you can add caraway seed, we brought fennel seed.
Okay.
We've never tried that
So
before.
really quick, what was in this right here?
Carrots.
Carrots.
And then all you do is the salt will start bringing out the liquid. You put it in the jar, pack it in, and you're done, just like that.
See, super easy. Yeah. Well, I want to thank both of you for all your time and wonderful knowledge, because it was really good too. So I'm very impressed, and very easy too. So I know you can do this at home. So I just want to thank you and say thanks for watching Living Well Naturally.
No fermentation.